Hey guys, welcome back to Harry Potter Folklore. So today I want to talk about the curse on Dumbledore's hand, how it affected him, its properties, and most importantly, why he couldn't just cut off or remove his hand that contained the curse. Have any of you guys ever watched The Walking Dead? You know, the person gets bitten by a walker on the arm or the leg or the hand, and in order to stop the spread of the infection, which ultimately kills them and turns them into a walker, that limb is then cut off, and it really works if done in time. Okay, I know Dumbledore's situation is different because it's a magical curse, but it still has similar properties to an infection. The person is able to be kept alive if it can be eradicated from their body, or at least kept at bay with the right treatment. So Dumbledore retrieves the gone family signet ring from the old shack, and he immediately recognises it's the resurrection stone. He cannot contain his excitement at finally coming across something he truly believed in but thought was lost to time. The underlying issue with Dumbledore was that he battled a lot of demons in relation to the death of his younger sister Ariana, whose death he actually blamed himself for. To be able to talk to her once more, to tell her how sorry he was, to listen to what she has to say, to possibly get some clarity on what happened the day she died, to have some clarity on a situation that has haunted him for the majority of his life. It's a situation that he never thought he'd be in. He forgets to even examine the ring for dark magic, and most importantly, he forgets the stone's instructions to turn the stone thrice in hand in order to connect with those one has lost. He places it on his finger and immediately activates the curse. That's actually the most frustrating part. The stone itself couldn't be turned into a Horcrux. It was the supporting gold ring it was attached to that was the actual Horcrux. Dumbledore states that he just forgot due to his excitement, which is a pretty stupid way to condemn yourself to death. So the curse rapidly starts to spread, and Severus Snape manages to contain it to his hand, but gives Dumbledore a year to live, as the curse will eventually begins to take over the rest of his body before ultimately killing him. So if the curse is contained to the hand, why can't he just cut it off? Take an axe or a cleaver and just whack it off? Well, it's not exactly that simple, guys. There's an obvious reason that it would leave him disabled without his hand. I'm not entirely sure if there was a limb replacement spell that wasn't created from dark magic like Wormtail's Silver Hand, which strangled him after he hesitated. I think it would have caused a panic in the magical world if one of the greatest wizards of the age had to amputate his hand as a result of Voldemort's power. It would cause a complete frenzy in the media and throughout the magical community to think that Dumbledore was placed in such a vulnerable state. They were scared enough as it is from Voldemort. I can also imagine the Daily Prophet having an absolute field day over the great Albus Dumbledore losing a hand due to something Voldemort created. The last thing anyone wants is a public panic that the only person capable of protecting them is hanging together as best he can. Then the curse from the ring was quite unanticipated, you could say, and Dumbledore had no experience of ever dealing with a curse like it. He'd never seen anything like it. In my opinion, no curse existed like that ever until Voldemort created it. It was devastating. Like, he sat there and wrote down what way, every way, he wanted his curse to affect its victim. Dumbledore, unfortunately, was the first person to experience it. In fact, it was extremely difficult for Snape to even confine it to one hand. It's my guess the curse was able to transfer itself further up the arm of the person or to a different body part at a slower rate than normal, slower than originally intended. So if Dumbledore had his hand cut off, part of the curse would still have already travelled to the rest of his body and therefore would have still manifested after he had his hand removed. Basically, Voldemort did too good of a job and made the curse fail safe. I also believe it's incredibly clever to use Voldemort's curse against him by having Snape kill Dumbledore, like they took a negative situation and turned it into a positive, beneficial one. Well, there's nothing really positive about it, but it's beneficial, which would aid in the hopeful downfall of the Dark Lord. There's also no way of knowing how the curse would truly react to having the infected limb cut off. I mentioned earlier that I already thought the curse had travelled around Dumbledore's body, so losing the limb would make no difference, but there would be also an additional failsafe that would see the curse multiply at an aggressive, uncontrollable rate and actually kill the host there and then. There's just no telling what it could do, as there's never been magic like it before. This was original Voldemort dark magic. Even Dumbledore's own comments on the curse show how powerful it was when he says, "The ring, Harry. Marvolo's ring. And a terrible curse there was upon it too. Had it not been, forgive me the lack of seemly modesty, for my own prodigious skill and for Professor Snape's timely action when I returned to Hogwarts, desperately injured, I might not have lived to tell the tale. However, a withered hand does not seem an unreasonable exchange for a seventh of Voldemort's soul. The ring is no longer a Horcrux." That was Dumbledore's quick thinking and prodigious skill as he describes it. By destroying the ring itself, he not only destroyed the Horcrux but also the dark magic that was sustaining the curse, ensuring it lost its source power and that it could never harm another individual. However, the downside was that enough of the magic had already entered his body, which of course put him in the position that we're currently discussing. The curse placed Dumbledore into a state of mind that he'd never been in before, the mindset of accepting he was going to die. Instead of wallowing in self-pity of his impending death, Dumbledore thought of the best way to use it to his advantage, instead of actually looking for a way to save himself. Dumbledore knew that Harry needed to be subjected to a killing curse cast by Voldemort, but contrary to belief, he didn't know if the killing curse would kill Harry and destroy the Horcrux inside him or just destroy the Horcrux on its own. Therefore, he wanted to make sure Harry had the best chance of surviving. To achieve this, however, he would have to deceive Voldemort into believing that he was the true master of the Elder Wand, which was not the case and it never would be. Furthermore, if Harry had any hope of winning the wand's allegiance as Dumbledore planned, the wand would first have to pass to a third party. To bring this together, Dumbledore needed only to arrange for his murder to be carried out by someone other than Draco. Unfortunately, this would one day be a death sentence for whoever actually took on the responsibility. Whoever kills Dumbledore would be assumed to be the Elder Wand's true master when Voldemort finally realised its allegiance was owed to another, who would not then hesitate to kill even the closest of his followers. He freely allowed Draco to disarm him, knowing the wand would swap its allegiance to Draco from that moment. At the same time, as it would be Snape that actually killed him, Voldemort would be tricked into thinking Snape was the wand's master. Ultimately, this allows Harry a realistic chance of one day winning the wand's trust from Draco, while Voldemort would be hoodwinked into believing he could kill Snape and face Harry as the wand's master. The end result is that when Voldemort and Harry do finally face each other, the Elder Wand would resist Voldemort's attempt to cast a killing curse on Harry, allowing Harry to survive and the piece of Voldemort's soul trapped inside Harry to be destroyed. Ultimately, putting on the ring and thus ensuring his own death was the way Dumbledore helped one of the purest souls in the story, Severus Snape, to contemplate assisting his own death in order to protect Harry. It is one of the most fundamental acts of empathy and courage in the entire series. If cutting off his hand would have stopped the curse from killing him, I believe Dumbledore either would have simply not have done it, or more likely have found another way to take on the responsibility for his own death, as there was something poetic about the way he went out. It's amazing that Dumbledore was able to live as long as he did with the curse, and likely took the better part of his magical talent to slow it as much as he did. So everyone, that is my video on why Dumbledore didn't cut off his cursed hand and chose to die instead. I think, well, I'm pretty sure I touched down on every single aspect of that situation, but as always, if there's something you need to add in the comment section below, or you feel I forgot to mention, then please do so, let me know. Thanks for watching and make sure to look out for the next video.